They say I saved him from the shelter, but the truth is, he saved me before I even knew I needed saving. It's easy to think that when you adopt a dog, you're the one doing the rescuing. You bring them into your home, you offer them a second chance, a new life. You imagine yourself as the hero in that story, the one who gives them a future. But what if the real story is different? What if the dog you think you're rescuing ends up rescuing you instead? What if, in their quiet way, they heal parts of you that you didn't even know were broken? That's what happened to me. I didn't go to the shelter with any intention of adopting. I was lost in my own struggles, carrying a weight I couldn't share. I thought I was just looking for a dog. But what I didn't realize was that this dog, this gentle, calm soul, was exactly what I needed to begin healing. In a world that often feels too loud, too overwhelming, he gave me peace. And in doing so, he saved me. This is the story of how a boy and his dog didn't just change each other's lives, but became each other's lifeline. They say the worst kind of loneliness isn't being alone, it's feeling invisible when you're surrounded by people. That was me. There wasn't some big, dramatic event that broke me. It was just life. Quiet, slow, and heavy. The kind of sadness that creeps in so gently you don't even notice it at first. You just wake up one day and realize, you haven't truly smiled in weeks. Or maybe months. At school, I was the quiet kid. Not by choice, really. I just didn't feel like I fit anywhere. People talked around me, never to me. I'd sit at lunch, headphones in, pretending I was too busy with something just so I didn't have to face the fact that no one wanted to sit with me. And home wasn't much better. My parents were going through a rough time. Fights that started in whispers but ended in slammed doors. The kind of tension you can feel in the walls. Nobody ever said it, but love had quietly packed its bags and left a long time ago. I was caught in the middle of everything. Not young enough to be shielded from the pain, not old enough to understand it. Just stuck. Floating. Invisible. And then came the anxiety. It started with this tightness in my chest, like I couldn't take a deep breath, no matter how hard I tried. Some days it felt like I was drowning in nothing at all. The world kept moving, and I kept pretending. Smiling when I needed to. Laughing when it was expected. But inside, I was tired. Not the kind of tired sleep could fix. I didn't know how to ask for help. I wasn't even sure what kind of help I needed. I just wanted something, someone, to make it feel like I wasn't going crazy. Like I wasn't the only one feeling this way. And honestly, I didn't think anyone would ever see me for who I really was. I started spending more time alone. After school, I'd head straight to my room, shut the door, and sink into my own little world. Sometimes it was music. Sometimes it was just silence. Most of the time, it was both. I wasn't depressed, in the way movies show it. I didn't cry all the time or sleep for days. I just felt numb. Like I was alive, but not really living. And the weird thing is, nobody really noticed. They saw the grades. The attendance. The quiet kid who never caused trouble. What they didn't see was the kid who avoided mirrors because he hated the look in his own eyes. The kid who felt like every day was just about surviving, not living. I didn't want attention. I just wanted to feel like I mattered to someone. But the world didn't stop for kids like me. It just kept spinning. And then one day, completely out of nowhere, my mom said, "Let's go to the shelter this weekend. Just to look around." I didn't think much of it. Maybe she thought a dog would help us feel like a normal family again. Maybe she was just tired of the silence too. I went along, not expecting anything. Definitely not expecting him. It smelled like metal and wet fur. The kind of place that makes you breathe a little shallower without realizing why. Dogs were barking from every corner, some loud and desperate, some just tired. I wasn't there to adopt. That wasn't the plan. I think part of me just wanted to get out of the house for a bit, and this seemed better than staring at the same four walls. My mom walked ahead, pausing at cages, smiling politely at the volunteers. She pointed out dogs now and then. "Look at this one, so cute." I nodded, but my heart wasn't in it. I kept thinking, what's the point? They all looked the same to me, sad eyes behind rusty bars. I started counting how many more rows were left so we could leave without being rude. And then I saw him. He wasn't barking like the others. Wasn't pacing, or whining, or wagging his tail. He just sat there, head tilted slightly, watching. Not like a dog looking for attention, but like he was trying to figure me out. Like somehow, out of all the noise and movement, he noticed me standing there. Something about him stopped time for a second. I took a step closer, and he didn't flinch. He didn't back away. Just kept looking at me with these deep, steady eyes that felt way too human. I don't know how to explain it. It wasn't love at first sight. It was something quieter. Something heavier. Like he saw the version of me I kept hidden, and didn't look away. A volunteer asked, "Want to take him out to the yard?" I don't even remember saying yes. But the next thing I knew, we were outside, just me, him, and a strange silence that somehow felt safe. And that was the beginning of everything. The first few days were weird. Not bad, just awkward. Like two strangers forced to be roommates. He was quiet. Barely made a sound. He'd follow me from room to room but always at a distance, like he wasn't sure if he was allowed to get too close. And honestly, I wasn't sure either. I didn't know how to dog. I kept Googling things like how often should a dog eat or why does my rescue dog stare at me and do nothing. I thought he'd run into my arms, lick my face, maybe bark in excitement like they do in the movies. But no. He just watched. The first walk was a mess. He wouldn't budge. Just sat at the front door like, "You go first, I'll stay here." So I sat beside him. We just stared at the world outside for a few minutes, quietly. Eventually, he stood up. And we walked. That was the first moment I felt it, this dog trusts me. A little. The first time he wagged his tail, it was barely a flick. So fast I almost missed it. I said, "Hey, I saw that," and he tilted his head like he was trying not to smile. He still didn't bark. Not once. But he'd nudge my hand when I got too quiet. He'd sit by my door at night, like a silent guard making sure the darkness stayed outside. And slowly, I changed too. I started waking up with a purpose, because someone was waiting on me. I went on longer walks. Spent less time in my room. Even my mom noticed. "You look lighter," she said once. "Like you're coming back." It wasn't some big transformation. It was in the little things. My smile came back, slowly. I talked more. Laughed, even. Not for others, just for myself. He didn't fix me. He just made the world feel safer while I figured out how to heal. And somehow, in the quiet way he existed, he taught me how to breathe again. It happened on a Tuesday. Just a regular day. Or at least, it started that way. But sometimes, it's not the big things that break you, it's the little ones piling up. A look. A word. A feeling you can't explain. That morning, I barely made it through school. Everything felt loud, too bright, too fast. People talked around me like I wasn't even there. My chest was tight all day, like I was holding in something that wanted to explode. I kept telling myself to just make it home. But I didn't even get through the front door before I broke. I dropped my bag, slid down to the floor, and suddenly I couldn't breathe. My heart was racing like I'd just sprinted a mile, but I hadn't moved an inch. And then the tears came. Not quiet ones. Not the kind you wipe away quickly. These were the kind that shake your whole body. The kind that make you feel like you're falling and no one even knows. I didn't hear his pause at first. But suddenly, he was there, right in front of me. He didn't bark. He didn't freak out. He just leaned into me. Slowly, gently. Pressed his whole body against my chest like he was trying to hold it together for me. And then he did something he'd never done before. He rested his head on my shoulder, and sighed. Not a dog sigh. A deep, heavy, human sigh. Like he knew. Like he'd felt this too. And in that moment, I swear, I wasn't alone anymore. He didn't try to fix it. Didn't try to distract me or make it go away. He just sat with me in it. And that, somehow, was everything. Because for the first time, I didn't feel like I had to explain myself. I didn't have to smile or pretend or make anyone comfortable with my pain. He just let me feel it. And stayed. I buried my face into his fur and cried harder than I ever had before. But this time, I didn't feel weak. I didn't feel broken. I felt understood. And that changed everything. After that day, something shifted. I still had hard moments, but I wasn't afraid of them anymore. Because now I knew, I didn't have to face them alone. Every time the anxiety crept in, he'd be there before it got too loud. Somehow, he always knew. He didn't need words. He just felt me. And I finally understood what people meant when they said, he's not just a dog. Because that day, I realized. He was my lifeline. Everything didn't magically get better overnight. But after that moment, the one where he sat with me in the dark, I started seeing light again. Slowly, life shifted. I stopped avoiding the mirror. I didn't hate what I saw anymore. I started waking up before my alarm, just to sit with him in the morning silence. No phones, no noise, just us, existing. The walks got longer. I started taking new routes, not because I had to, but because I wanted to explore. He'd lead the way, pausing every so often to look back at me like, "You good?" And I always was, with him. People at school started noticing a difference. I talked more. Laughed without faking it. I joined a club. Nothing crazy, just a small group that met once a week. But for someone who used to hide in the corners, that was huge. I didn't need to disappear anymore. Because now I had something constant. Someone who made me feel seen even when I felt small. He became my shadow. Not in a clingy way, just always there. During thunderstorms. During family fights. During those silent evenings where my chest got tight for no reason at all. And when things got rough, he always knew. He'd nudge my arm, curl up beside me, or just stare at me with those deep, knowing eyes that said, "I've got you." He wasn't just my dog. He was my therapist, my safe space, my home. He taught me how to be soft without being weak. How to open up without fear. He reminded me that love doesn't have to be loud to be real. Years passed, but he never changed. He was there through everything, first heartbreak, graduation, new beginnings. Always steady. Always present. They say you can't really put love into words. And maybe that's true. But when I looked at him, I didn't need words. Because he was the proof that real love is quiet, loyal, and always shows up, especially when the world forgets you. People still say I rescued him. That I saved a shelter dog and gave him a second chance. But the truth? He rescued me first. Before the leash, before the papers, before I even knew I needed saving, he saw something in me I didn't see in myself. And he stayed. When I couldn't find the words for how I felt, he understood the silence. When the world felt heavy, he carried the weight beside me. No judgment. No questions. Just presence. There's something about a dog's love that goes beyond loyalty. It's quiet, but it's constant. They don't care about your grades, your scars, your past, or how well you pretend to be okay. They just love you. Fully. Fiercely. Without conditions. And in that love, something incredible happens. You begin to heal. Not all at once. Not in some dramatic, movie scene kind of way. But slowly. Like sunlight creeping into a room you thought would stay dark forever. That's what he gave me. Not just companionship, but a reason to keep going. A reason to believe that maybe, just maybe, I was worth loving. I used to think I was the quiet kid who didn't matter. But to him, I was everything. So no. I didn't just rescue a dog. I met my best friend. My protector. My quiet hero. And in his simple, steady way, he saved my life. Sometimes the one you save, is the one who saves you right back.